Welcome to the Freedom Chronicles.
Definitely an antisocial type.
Only a few generations have been granted the role of defending freedom in its hour of maximum danger.
Hi, perhaps you recognize me. It's your favorite president.
In this present crisis, government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem.
We got a loudspeaker here, and when we go into battle, we play music very loud.
With a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Freedom Chronicles. I'm your host, Mike Imbasciani. Thank you for joining us, and we are, of course, broadcasting from the Brian Chapman State Farm bunker right here in Southwest Florida. And like a good neighbor, Brian Chapman State Farm is there for all of the insurance needs that you have for your very own bunker. It's still hurricane season out there. Even though a lot of these insurance companies don't seem to like hurricane season in Florida. So give his office a call. They'll help you with all sorts of fun stuff. Give his office a call at 941-625-9998 or visit the office at 2040 Tamiami Trail in Port Charlotte. We, of course, have Mr. Ken Lovejoy, but for the first time, and we've been trying to get him on the show for a little while, ever since I was at the Turning Point Action Conference there in Palm Beach. He is a seventh-generation Arizonan. He's the RNC National Committeeman. He is the COO of Turning Point Action and also the host of the new podcast, Swing State Update. It's Tyler Bowyer. Tyler, how are you, sir?
Good to be with you guys. Good to be with you finally. We've been trying to do this for a long time, and it's we figured it out. So we're happy to be here.
We did. Yes, thank you. So obviously you've done a lot, and you're involved with Turning Point Action. That was a great conference. Got to see President Trump and Vivek Ramaswamy and a bunch of other great speakers there. Tucker Carlson, I think, was a fantastic opener for for Trump. So kind of tell us how, because Turning Point Action is one of the newer involvements groups trying to help with the Republican Party and conservatism as a whole, coming off of Turning Point USA. So what are you trying to achieve as the chief operating officer with these events moving forward?
Yeah, so a lot of people are somewhat familiar with Turning Point USA. I ran as CEO of Turning Point USA for close to the past decade now. With Charlie and running the day-to-day and building that and growing that, and that's a 501c3 organization. And so what we often talk about with how the left builds its infrastructure, they have a ton of C3s, they have a ton of C4s. These are nonprofit organizations that exist, sometimes referred to as soft money because all their donors are private. So when you talk about dark money, things like that, it really benefits C3s and C4s. And particularly that's usually talked about with C4s. And that's what Turning Point Action is. And there's a lot of C3, C4 tandems in the world. And oftentimes you'll hear the terminology be used of action. So you'll hear Heritage Foundation has Heritage Action. You have Planned Parenthood has Planned Parenthood Action. And so we realized over the course of building Turning Point, it's one of the largest grassroots C3s in America. That's nonpartisan, that's non-political, that there just wasn't enough of that emphasis being put on the C4 organizations with actual real boots on the ground field work. And a lot of C3s and C4s operate on the right, unfortunately, just in the think tank space. And we call ourselves, we often tell people we're not a think tank, we're a battle tank. We're focused on actually putting bodies out into the field, training them, and then helping them along the way to the actual things that I think that we need to do to save America, predominantly with putting more ballots in the box, keeping an eye on election integrity, finding voter discrepancies, building the field operation that needs to be permanent in these key target states. And so that's what we're doing. That's what we do at Turning Point Action every single day is we're building the grassroots army that really has been relatively non-existent in a permanent way for the Republican side, the conservative side, and trying to not only hold the party accountable, but to build all that simultaneous to that. So
how do you feel
your success has been in the field? Or do you feel that you're making headway? Are you hearing from your folks out in the field that people are being a little bit more responsive to the message?
Well, one of the things that we kind of pride ourselves in is really just doing. It's not brainiac work. It's not rocket science. It's just trying to do the work that the Republican Party really should be doing, right? Which is the conservative movement should be doing, which it starts with recruiting people out in the field to become precinct committeemen, precinct captains, precinct chairs. This is the most important piece, which is really difficult to comprehend when you look at the Republican National Committee, of which I am a board member. I am the representative from the state of Arizona on the Republican National Committee. And I was horrified when I walked through the doors and realized that literally there's no emphasis at all put on supporting and building the grassroots. And so, the way that we've looked at this and our mantra has been is do the things that the party should be doing. Focus on the grassroots, recruit the grassroots, provide resources to the grassroots, all the way up to doing what the party should be doing as well, which is chasing ballots, identifying ballots. That way we can also identify discrepancies, make sure the voter rolls are clean, but then in addition to that, make sure that low propensity or less likely voters actually turn in their ballots. Most places in America, most people don't realize this, we don't have an energy, enthusiasm, passion, or even registration problem in most states. In most states, we have lots of enthusiasm, lots of passion. We just aren't getting more ballots turned in than the other side because the other side is taking total advantage of vulnerable people, low propensity
They're
people. This is the
manufacturing ballots and you aren't.
Yeah, the Republicans want to play by the rules. The Democrats change the rules.
Well, it's more than rules. It actually dips into the conversation about ethics, which is that ethically, voting in America has always been based off of your own agency. And Steve Bannon talks about agency a lot lately, especially. But your freedom of choice. America's a beautiful place because we're not forced to vote. We're not forced to pick our people. You can decide if you want to sit at home and be like, I'm going to be non-participatory in this process. We don't support that. We think that obviously everyone that's involved knows that that's not a great policy to have a great nation, but that's been the way it's been done. And so there's no force, there's no knife, there's no game planking people to vote. And so that's where the Democrats have really taken advantage of this mail-in balloting system and what they call motor voter in most of these states is by forcibly creating these votes that are out in the public, they can now take advantage of these paper ballots. They can take advantage of the individuals. They can take advantage of these people who have, as Rush Limbaugh referred to them as low information voters, people who really have not a ton of intent to vote because they don't have a ton of passion. So when that happens, it's the same way with sales. When you're not passionate about something and something's so cheap and so easy to do, oftentimes people will just do it just to get those salespeople out of their face. And so it's really simple. The left has figured out if we can bother people, if we can annoy people, if we can put salespeople in these people's faces with something that's so easy to do and they don't care about, then they're likely to extract tons of ballots. And that's exactly what they've done over the last 3 election cycles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. With the conference, this was the first conference like that I've been to. I know it was the first Turning Point Action conference, and I didn't know what to expect going into it. I mean, I know how Republicans operate, especially what has become the Republican establishment, and I didn't know what the topics were going to be. And I thought to myself, are you guys going to talk about the election integrity? And I was shocked and happily surprised that there was so much discussion about it and that there were so many young people. I mean, I'm 26 and just walking into the place, I felt old because all these kids from colleges and high schools are coming around. And then, it evened out with the population of Florida that was there too. But it is nice to see that conversation is being had about election integrity.
Mm-hmm.
But how does the fight continue? You talk about grassroots and talk about your podcast too, the Swing State Update that you're doing. How can the word spread more to the right people in these states? I mean, Arizona being one of them, to help it. with the election integrity, when it seems that the Republican establishment just wants to fight, the DeSantis Trump fight, the Christie Vivek fight that you see in the debate.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is the real problem, is that, and I don't want to oversimplify this, but the Republican establishment I refer to as the National Republican apparatus is not nimble. So you have really two enemies within our own ranks right now. You have the National Republican apparatus, which are the technocrats who want to control the party. And then you have really this entire other element of it, which are really the doers in the established party, which is like the Chamber of Consultant types, which is they're related and they work together and they do all this, but I refer to them as the Chamber of Consultants because it's really the people who make their living off of the technocrats. And so this includes the chamber, right? They have no honor, no support, they have no loyalty whatsoever to the Republican Party. They have no loyalty, certainly, to actual conservatives. They just want to control and make a buck, and those are your two categories. And we know that, but we very rarely are able to decipher the who's who in those situations. And so when I go into any scenario, I'm like, okay, is this person that I'm working with a technocrat and is self-indulgent based off of that, or are they part of the Chamber of Commerce, Chamber of Consultant industry that can be moved somewhat because they're not necessarily seeking power, they're seeking wealth and survival, and both have to go. So both have to go. And so you look at the states that we're in right now; those are slow-moving ships. Those are massive infrastructures that have been built on our side that are poor infrastructure. That's poor infrastructure that has existed for now over 40 years. The left, on the other side, figured this out about 20 years ago, and they said, we're going to eliminate as much of this as we possibly can, and we're going to become more nimble, and we're going to figure out how to use dark money for our own benefit. We're going to figure out how to use resources that the Republicans at the time had a lot more of, with the Kochs and with everything else. We're going to figure out how to make this more impactful, more effective. And the reality is that how this has worked is that as the map changes, as it does every 5 to 10 years for president, for Senate, for everything else, now Florida and Ohio are less critical than they were 20 years ago. Now Arizona, Wisconsin, Georgia are now all at play. And they didn't realize that until 2016, right? They didn't realize how close Georgia and Arizona really were, and they didn't realize how vulnerable Michigan and Wisconsin were, right? And so that changed the map. And so their ability to move and apply resources to those states, both in a prescriptive way and also in a reactive way, but let's focus on the prescriptive way first, is they were able to do things quickly there in these states that they realized after 2016 were totally vulnerable on both sides of the coin. And so what does that mean? They were able to prescribe millions and not tens of millions of dollars to go into these states to start manipulating election code right away. Well, we had our pants around our ankles and, recovering from, a really wonderful party night in 2016 or in 2016, right? Like we were like the drunk guy after the concert, that can't find his way out of the porta potty kind of in 2016. and they were the ones that left the concert early, and figuring out these things and getting ahead of us the very next day. And that's really the story of what's happened, is that we did not look at that vulnerability in 2016 the same way that they did, and they had much more preparation to be nimble and move. And so that's why you've seen the last, particularly the last three election cycles, tons more resources being poured into Arizona and Georgia and Wisconsin and Michigan on the left. And our side has done virtually nothing because we're still asleep in the porta potty.
Yeah, Arizona in particular. Where in Arizona are you?
Yeah, I'm in the Phoenix metropolitan area. So I
Oh, cool.
was the
My little
chairman.
brother lives.
Where at?
In Mesa. He owns a bicycle shop out there.
Yeah, and I was just out
Oh,
in Arizona,
wonderful.
Yeah.
actually. I have a cousin who lives in the Prescott Valley there.
Yeah, we've
Yeah,
been there.
I live in Mesa. I live in Mesa. And so 10 years
Oh, okay.
ago when I was Mike's age, 10 years ago, I became county chair of Maricopa County. And it was
Oh,
kind
cool.
of I fell into it mainly because I started getting involved at the grassroots level. I became a precinct committeeman. I became a local, what you would call a central committee chair for my city, and we won every election that we possibly could. And everyone was like, "You got to run for county chair." And this is 10 years ago, so this is prior to a lot of these manipulation schemes starting to hit Arizona, because this is before the
Yeah.
left realized that they could win Arizona in some major way. And so I became chair. We actually ended up hosting what became the first Trump rally. So I became the first speaker at the first Trump rally because I literally
That's
couldn't get
awesome.
anyone to speak. I couldn't get anyone to do it. And that's when people started realizing a lot of the change.
Yeah.
And Maricopa County is really unique because you have 4 million plus people in one county. It's easy
Mhm.
and this is how the Democrats and the left look at it, right? They can go into a big metropolitan county, a big metropolitan area, and there's so many votes that are coming in, and it's so overwhelming that changing election code and manipulating election code under the guise of making things easier allows them to manipulate. We know this, right? We beat this
Mhm.
like a dead horse. We know this is going on. But
Yeah.
this is at its core the reason why Thomas Jefferson was so right, which is a government that is local and near you allows you to be able to dismantle it quickly. If you have this overarching massive government structure, you're never going to be able to take it apart. You're never going to be able to undo it. And he warned of that. That's why he warned of the federal government. That's why he wanted a federal government that turned over every 17 years or something. So yeah, this
Yeah.
is
And
this is
that would include the bureaucracy as well, because it seems like the bureaucrats are really the biggest issues. We could have term limits all day long, but these guys are insidious and they're deep inside.
Yeah, and I
well,
mean, you said the word multiple times. Local's very important, and that's the biggest phrase on this show that we have. We have it on a T-shirt. Get loud locally. People fail to realize just how much power they have on the local level as well.
yeah, I mean, this is the reason why these bigger entities are so bad, right? This is why the university system, the academia, uh, industrial complex, as I call it, and the military industrial complex is so bad. This is why some of these school districts are so bad that are so big. And the same thing goes with county government, city government that's too big. Is it was never intended when the framers came to America, it was never intended that we would have such large municipalities. And in fact, they were very opposed to the concept of large municipal government. Uh, that would grow beyond the scope of the reach of the citizen, because this was the problem that existed effectively in London. This was the problem that existed all across Europe. This is why everybody came, and they were like, I just want land, and I want you to leave me the F alone, and I want to be able to do whatever I
Yeah.
want, and I want to be able to protect it. I mean, this is and there's a natural American spirit that exists there. We're going to have a renaissance, especially the conservative movement, of actually instituting policies that revitalize that same spirit of actually, you know, controlling and managing your own land and property, and really shrinking the size of cities and lowering the size of cities and height restrictions, because this is the only way I think that we avoid a complete Soviet style takeover where there's a lot of people stacked on top of each other that make it easy for the left to control.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's what they want. The 15-minute cities. You will own nothing. You'll be happy. No meat.
That's why.
No dairy. No personal car. Ride the bus. That's
Well, they can't
electric.
give you
No,
meat and
no
dairy
gas,
because they got to whip it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
no
Hey,
gas stoves, none of those
yeah,
Yeah,
things, right?
exactly.
exactly.
So
As an
yeah.
aside, you're in Arizona. Shouldn't you be wearing a Diamondbacks hat?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The Tampa Bay Rays there.
So I am a D-backs fan through and through. I think the ownership could be a little bit better, but someone gave this to me because it's my initials because of Tyler Bowyer.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
Well, okay.
There you
There
go.
you go.
And the American flag.
so
I like
I
that.
wear it as my. This is my monogram hat of
I'll
my.
give you that. Okay,
Nice.
not a problem.
Very good. it makes up for it considering I'm a Yankees fan, so it's all right.
You
Yeah,
don't even want to
I'm not a
No.
I'm not a Tampa Bay fan. So.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to take our break and do a little music. Hang out with us, Tyler, and we'll have some more. We'll get into our Patriot and Charity of the Week. And, folks, if you're enjoying this show, let us know. Hit that like button. Drop a comment down below. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the Freedom Chronicles YouTube channel. It helps us out. And then take it over to Rumble because YouTube is not going to like us after a little while. And subscribe.
I'll say something.
Yeah, more than likely. It's always Lovejoy says something. So on Rumble, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, comment down below, share it with your friends. And right next to the subscribe button is a little red button that says join. You can join the Freedom Chronicles Locals community. It helps us out. It's just $5 a month. And use promo code FreedomCow. You get 1 month free. And then you can support the show and also support another small business. Get your mugshot shirt. Have you gotten now, Tyler? Do you have a mugshot shirt yet? You need.
I do
I'm
not.
sure you have a Trump. No.
I actually don't, but I have many of my family members who do, and I need my mugshot shirt. So getting it from you guys would be great. So.
Right. So you can pick up a Freedom Chronicles mugshot shirt. Get loud locally. Be that conversation starter. Use that QR code right there. Use the link down in the description. Get loud locally with Freedom Cow. Get a Freedom Cow shirt. Get a JFK, if not us who, if not now when, and Ronald Reagan, evil. Be unafraid. I forget it, but it's on the post. The thing on the shirt, and it helps support Petra Armstrong, Mike Armstrong's wife. It helps small business making these shirts, so that's how you can help us out as well. Check this out, a little older video from my band playing Crossroads.
Sort of
sinking down. There you go, a little crossroads. So that will bring us to our Patriot and Traitor of the Week. So, Tyler, you are a guest. Do you have a Patriot of the Week?
Yeah, right now, the Patriot of the Week that I've got are the wonderful Patriots that are in Wisconsin who are fighting to convince everyone to impeach Janet. So I don't know if you've been following this, but probably one of the most critical things to saving the country is to impeach the new Supreme Court justice that just got elected because she ran on the fact that she wants to change the maps, which should disqualify her from having any kind of say in that.
Exactly.
And you've got wonderful people like Mike Gableman, who's in Wisconsin, who is a former Supreme Court justice, who has been, at his own demise to a certain extent here, of like people attacking him and personally coming after him, of telling people that he is, of actually spreading the truth of what's going on with the Supreme Court. And so, yeah, those Patriots that we have in Wisconsin right now that are fighting for that, I hope the Republican Party will get on board and actually have some intestinal fortitude to make it happen.
Yes, that would be nice. We
haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, we've got other impeachment stories we can get to in a few minutes here.
Is young, and we continue to pray.
They also lack the intestinal fortitude. Ken, who is your Patriot of the Week?
Oliver Anthony.
Hey, yeah.
I got to respect the guy. He blasts out of nowhere with Rich Men North of Richmond. He's had a couple other songs. 90-some Chevy is a great song out there too. But he's starting to do some touring around, but he wants to keep his ticket prices low, right in the $25 range. And he was going to be doing a concert recently and didn't communicate well enough with his booker, and the tickets were upwards of $100 to get in, $200 for a meet and greet, and he canceled the show.
Yeah. Yeah, good for him. Integrity.
And he's got integrity,
yeah,
keeping the ticket prices low. That's my biggest. I mean, come on, I'm an old fart. I can remember seeing.
I paid $7.
I'm telling you what, Roadmaster Pat Travers and Blue Oyster Cult for $8.50. So come on. So I can respect what he does. Guy looks like he's pretty solid, and he's my Patriot of the Week.
Yes, very good. It's going to be hard for him to get that $40,000 a gig if he's only charging $25 a head.
Well, more people.
Hey, whatever. Yeah, more people.
Bigger venues.
Of course. My Patriot, of course, 2 days ago was the anniversary of 9/11. We have a couple pictures of that. But pictures 7 and 8, Ben, is my Patriot, and his name is Rick Rescorla. And 22 years ago on 9/11, Rick disobeyed orders and saved 2,700 lives. Rick was the head of security for Morgan Stanley in the South Tower of the World Trade Center, and he warned that the tower's basements were vulnerable to attack. His warnings fell on deaf ears. Then when the 1993 attack happened and people started listening to him, after that attack, Rick implemented regular evacuation drills using his megaphone that you saw in the one picture there to direct thousands of employees out of their offices, down the stairwells, and out of the building to safety. Born in Cornwall, Rick would sing Welsh and Cornish songs from his megaphone as he directed the employees out of the building. And he would routinely tell all of the employees, in an emergency, no matter what chaos is happening around you, no matter what anyone tells you, leave your offices, go down the stairwells, and leave the building. Rick told his wife, Susan, that you saw in the second picture there, that he suspected another attack on the World Trade Center would happen, this time by air. And 22 years ago, just 2 days ago, anniversary, on September 11th, 2001, that attack happened. And when the first plane hit the North Tower, the Port Authority announced over the South Tower speaker system, quote, "Please do not leave the building. This area is secure." And Rick ignored them. He said, quote, the dumb sons of bitches told me not to evacuate," he said to his best friend Dan. Quote, they said it's just building 1. I told them I'm getting the people the F out of here. So Rick picked up his megaphone, and he had done, as he had done so many times before, told the employees not to listen to the orders and directed them out of the building. His Cornish songs helped keep their nerves calm as they evacuated even after the second plane hit their tower. Once he had successfully evacuated his employees, Rick went back to look for survivors, but first he called his wife, Susan, and he told her, stop crying. I have to get these people out safely. If something should happen to me, I want you to know I've never been happier. You made my life. Rick rushed back to the South Tower, and that was the last time anyone saw him alive. All but 6 of the more than 2,700 Morgan Stanley employees survived. Had they obeyed the Port Authority, they all would have been dead. Thankfully, they listened to Rick instead, and that's a true patriot, going back into the fire and leading people to safety. And it's important people never forget. And that goes into the get loud locally part, folks, too, of don't listen to what they're saying. Look with your eyes, listen with your ears, do the right thing. And when you need to get out and be loud about it and help others. It's important, and we have to remember. I over the years, obviously, I was 4 years old when 9/11 happened, but you learn about it, you understand. My mom knew a lot of people that worked in that building that passed away. I lived in New York at the time, and every year, especially in the past few years, you just see less and less about it. And for the first time ever, Joe Biden is a president who was not there for the remembrance in New York City.
Oh no, he was there the day after.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy, he was right there.
Uh-huh.
Even though
that was a lie.
He was giving
on
a speech on the floor of the
yeah.
Senate.
Then the C-SPAN video. I guess he didn't think that C-SPAN was recording back then.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's something never forget is on purpose, folks. Never forget. It's important. Tyler, who is your traitor of the week?
So I'm going. This is a little bit of an edgy trader position. So the news just came out today, which we've been expecting for weeks, that Mitt Romney is not running for re-election.
That's right.
Maxi Pad
So-
going by nice.
So you would think that my trader of the week would be Mitt Romney, and he still might be the biggest trader in the room, but a guy named Brad Wilson is his handpicked successor. So he's the Speaker of the House in Utah. He had put his hat in the ring, prior to Mitt Romney stepping down as a preparation to make it look like they're somewhat disconnected, but they're not. He is the guy that Romney is going to quietly back in the background, who is equally as bad as Mitt Romney, in my opinion, and should not be the person that is supported by the state of Utah. And so it's important for conservatives. There right now there's an opponent. He's a mayor out of Salt Lake who is oppositional to Mitt Romney. His name is Mayor Trent Staggs. He is someone that I am supporting. They're hearing whispers that there could be some other people, deciding to get in that may be conservative, but there's not very many. And so right now, Trent Staggs is the conservative that's in the race against now what's seemingly Brad Wilson, who is going to be the quietly supported, because they know how unpopular Mitt Romney is, the quietly supported by Mitt and gang in the background. So conservatives need to know. They need to investigate that.
How savvy are the conservatives in Utah? Are they picking up on this? Do they know this guy? Are they going to be able to get the word out that this guy's no better than Mitt?
So the big problem in many communities, and this is a particular problem in Utah, is herd mentality. And this typically exists in big religious communities. So this happens with evangelicals. This happens in the Jewish community very often. This also happens in the Mormon LDS community. And so the LDS community, which, in total transparency, I'm LDS from Arizona. I'm like the only Mormon on planet Earth that doesn't have family in Utah. But, I understand this cult of personality type thing before. And so this is where, a lot of people, they're just always super stoked to have someone that's of their faith running. And so oftentimes they'll just vote for whoever is the Mormon guy, if you're Mormon. and this is kind of the same thing with pastors and evangelicals and members of the Jewish community, is in that on the Democrat side oftentimes is that they'll just do that, and so that's not good enough. That's not good enough. A lot of Mormons are figuring this out the same way evangelicals figured it out. That there's a lot of lies told about Trump. There's a lot of lies told about a lot of conservatives. They tried to take out Mike Lee with Evan McMullen. So this was an attempt that was made. And so the good news is that was unsuccessful in Utah. The good news is that a lot of Mormons have figured out they've been lied to. Now the question is are they going to be able to? Are they going to get tricked one last time here? And I hope not. I hope they don't, because we went through the same thing when Jeff Flake stepped down in a very similar way because he realized the polling was so upside down for him. And they inserted Martha McSally, which was a total disaster. She was, just a moderate establishment, John McCain pick, who was just totally unprepared to run for U.S. Senate. And she just wasn't liked by the grassroots at all, which was the majority of the party. And so it's a really important lesson to be learned, is that we really need to be taking lessons from the left and listening to our grassroots, listening to the base, and picking base candidates, and then helping figure out how to get them across the finish line.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're seeing it more and more. Those better candidates are coming, especially, and that's why when you hear, oh, we need somebody like Byron Donalds for vice president, it's like I like Byron where he is, holding people's feet to the fire in Congress. That's where it's important, and people like Matt Gaetz and those congressmen and women who are putting those other establishment Republicans' feet to the fire. It's important.
Yep. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Totally agree. So that's
Ken,
that's my guy of the week. Is no Brad Wilson. Get to know his name. He is the behind the scenes, the traitor that's working with Mitt Romney, and so he's synonymous with Mitt Romney if you think Mitt's a traitor. So.
And we do.
Yeah, and we do. Yes, that is true. But yeah, and that shows like it's always 2 or 3 people deep. Like whoever you think the figurehead is, there's the 3 people behind him ready to go, and who are also leading that person. We'll get to Fetterman, don't worry. So Ken, who is your traitor of the week?
Well, this individual just shows how low the level of depravity that the Democrats will sink to and yet still cover for. And that would be Susanna Gibson running for the position, a Democrat position in Virginia for the Virginia House.
Yeah.
And her husband, in part of her campaign fundraising, went online to a website and would do online sex live for tips. She's supposedly
misunderstood.
She's supposedly like a nurse practitioner, and I must say, in all honesty here, for a Democrat, she's kind of pretty.
Yeah. Well,
which is
AOC
very
would
unusual.
look good if it wasn't for the eyes.
Yeah, that's true.
It's the eyes.
But anyway, she's doing this. The New York Times tries to cover for it by saying she's somehow a victim because the GOP is leaking a sex tape. This wasn't just a sex tape, and it wasn't leaked. This was online. Yes. When you have sex on the World Wide Web, you're essentially having sex in public.
Right.
And this is what she did for money. Up until last year, she was doing it. And she's running as a Democrat in Virginia and doesn't think anything of it.
Oh, of course.
Like this is just completely normal. What do you guys and so when she's starting to feel the heat, the Times is covering for her and trying to make her be the victim, and it's all about the GOP leaking their private sex tape. How dare they? So that's my traitor of the week.
It's hard to top that traitor, honestly.
Thank you.
That was a good one. My traitor of the week, I got to give it to the New Mexico governor.
Oh, well, I figured someone would do that.
Yeah.
That's why we went with Susanna here.
Michelle
tub of
Grisham
goo
here.
out there in New Mexico.
And Tyler, answer this for me. Do they really just not care about the Constitution at all?
She does not.
She does not. That's obvious.
She seems to be alone thus far.
thus far, because a sheriff in New Mexico says that they will not enforce the emergency order signed by the governor, and this is the executive order banning open or concealed carry of firearms in Albuquerque and Bernalillo County there. But
it's only for a short period of time.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Until they start taking the guns away anyway. And the criminals, no matter what, the criminals will always have the guns. And they failed to talk about the errors in FBI reports show that the agency has been undercounting active shooter incidents stopped by armed civilians. According to an FBI report, over the period from 2014 through 2022, armed citizens stopped only 4.6% of active shooter incidents. However, new analysis from the Crime Prevention Research Center shows that figure is actually 35.7%. So they're lying to people on purpose.
Well, again, it goes beyond that, though. I mean, she says that the Constitution and her oath is not absolute. Get the hell out. Leave. Goodbye. And I'm very thankful that you've got the state police of New Mexico said we're not enforcing it. Good. The state attorney general says that he will not represent her in the several lawsuits that are coming because his oath and the Constitution is a little more important than her BS that's going on.
And just like every other citizen there in New Mexico should understand what's written on my Ted Nugent signed hat, I will not comply. And that's exactly the way that people should act. I mean, Tyler, when you see these type of things, how do you want Turning Point Action to kind of get people involved to help fight against these? I mean, that's true tyrannical leadership from a governor of a state.
Yeah, and this is what's going to be happening more and more, right? What we're seeing, what you're seeing is, I think down the line, it's downstream of the absolute disruption that we're seeing that Democrats are taking advantage of because they're becoming more and more gutsy, right? So this is in the same vein as indicting Trump for doing nothing, right? For speech. And indicting people for speech and throwing people in jail for speech. This is autocracy, right? This is an individual taking, and if nobody holds them in check, which is what everyone's state constitution has those elements of it. If no one does it, I mean, these are test points. They're testing the Americans, the American
what
people's
can they
will
get away with?
Yeah, this is just a test. You know, there's no better place to
creating the chaos.
There's no better place to test this than places like New Mexico, right? So you look at this and you start going, oh, okay, like where are some places where it's not going to make a massive difference if we poke and prod. And this is the same thing with like how they implemented COVID and restrictions and things like that, right? Which is this is all just tests on the American public to see what like we're willing to put up with. And so everybody's got to go head to it and say, we got to fight back harder than we've ever fought before. This should be the reason why we have, again, you take the Wisconsin, this is the reason why we should have absolutely no qualms whatsoever of removing and impeaching the Supreme Court justice there, is because if you do not do those things, they're telling you straight to your face,
keep doing it.
you better and you better believe them when they tell you that they are going to take away all your rights.
Yeah, because they're already trying. And that leads in perfect to the conversation of, and we'll wrap it up because we're running out of time here, but of the whole Kevin McCarthy thing. An honorable mention to the traitor front here is they're having, House Republicans have uncovered serious and credible allegations into President Biden's conduct. Taken together, these allegations paint a picture of a culture of corruption. Therefore, it warrants further investigation by the House of Representatives. Just do the impeachment. They impeached Trump twice over nothing.
No, they won't do it.
But they won't do it because it's weak.
They're weak. They're weak. Mountains of evidence, mountains of actual evidence, hard evidence, testimony, whistleblowers. They got it all. They got more than enough that in any normal time in America, Joe would already have resigned in disgrace. Yeah. Yet here we are. And there's McCarthy with his dirty thumbs still up his butt.
So, Tyler, will somebody do a motion to vacate?
I mean, that's what Matt is saying. That's what Matt has said, and there's a number. I mean, I do believe that we have the enough members of the Freedom Caucus who actually have, the gonads to make this happen. But I mean, this is the problem, though. It's like it shouldn't be here, right? We should be at the point where it's like, this was the warning sign ahead of the McCarthy thing, which was like McCarthy had every ability to bring all these people in. He just didn't believe that they would actually hold him to the 14 votes or whatever it was on the House floor to become Speaker. He
Frank
didn't believe
Luntz
that, and so
stroking his head on the couch. Don't worry, they'll never really do it, Kevin.
right. Like just the whispering sweet nothings into his ear, into his face. I've been in Frank's house before. It's a strange place. It's like it's a very it's a very weird place. It's like Pee Wee Herman's Funhouse. Rest in peace, Pee Wee. So you look at this situation. It's like we have just one opportunity in front of us right now to actually hold these people accountable, hold the establishment accountable. Not Mitch McConnell. Kevin McCarthy had every opportunity to bring the Freedom Caucus members in, hear them out, negotiate all this, so it ended up with just one vote, and they would have figured it out. Now, they negotiated, they figured all this out. He agreed to things, and now he doesn't believe that they're actually going to vacate. They're going to introduce the motion to vacate, and they're going to actually hold him accountable. And so they have to do the same thing that they did on the initial vote again. And it sucks that we have to do this, but it's like having a child that just disrespects you, or an employee that disrespects you.
You have to beat the establishment into doing their job, and that's the saddest thing.
Yeah.
And this is where I always talk about party discipline, right? So most of these things could actually be handled by the party if the party was functioning at a high level. So if you ask me, like, what could the Republican Party be doing right now? Well, almost everything that you could dream of that you want the government to actually do, that you want Congress to actually do, when you control it, you could actually force to the party if we actually had any kind of discipline within the party. Everything. I mean, this includes, constant conversation with Kevin McCarthy, using the party as like a common ground to have these debates and conversations behind closed doors. But nobody does that, right? And so we just are like, Congress will handle it. The Freedom Caucus will handle it. So my congressman will handle it. I trust him. And that hasn't worked, right? And so we have to create some kind of method for party discipline, right? We have to create a place, an octagon where everyone comes in, there's rules, but we fight it, we close the door, we fight it out, we figure it out, and we force the party to do what it needs to do in order for us to win. And that includes, by the way, term limits.
It does include term limits, but unfortunately, Nancy Pelosi wants to run again as an 83-year-old. And of course, picture number 20, please, Ben. They uncover the alien in Mexico, but DC Drano had the perfect tweet. Mexico has revealed a never-before-seen picture of the average U.S. senator.
That does look like Feinstein,
with a little bit of Mitch thrown in.
Yeah,
but that's Mitch McConnell at the podium next week when he stops talking again. Because
what are your thoughts on that, Tyler? Why, Mitch doesn't have to, though I'd like him to retire, he obviously needs to. In lieu of that, can't they just dump his minority leader and give it to Thune? Thune seems to be the douche that there is all tuned up, ready to replace him anyway. Why not just get that out of the way now so we have someone at least, sentient in the position?
I mean, doesn't that tell you everything about what's wrong with what's going on, right? It's like, you would think the smart move for the establishment would be is like, okay, well, we should at least have someone that can talk, someone that can like.
He's not going to lock up,
we need to have someone that can at least continue tricking people, that we're doing the things that we say we're doing, and they're not even capable of doing that. That's how grossly neglected and undisciplined the party is right now. That's one of my biggest complaints about Rana. Romney McDaniel, who's the chair of the RNC, and why I didn't support her reelection in any kind of capacity, because I believe it's the role of the RNC chair to have to go into these people and say, look, you're out, bud. Like, you're out. Like, I'm the chair of the party. The grassroots of the party says you're out, and so you're out. Except she's so scared of that because she's operably way down the line, basically a function of them versus the opposite, which is a accountability.
The donors.
Yeah, I mean, because the donor. Yeah, I'm so scared what's going to happen with the donors. Like, dude, you don't even have donors, all right? Like people are paying shit. The donors, the future of the party are people that are going to believe in you. And the only way that they can believe in you is if you can go tell the guy that can't speak that he's done, right? Like, that should be like, level one here, So that's where
Well, I've said it from the beginning. All of these congressmen and senators all believe they hold more power than the president because they've seen presidents come and go, but they are still there. Tyler, we got to wrap it up. Thank you for joining us. We greatly appreciate it. Hopefully, we can get you on again sooner rather than later. We really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Good luck in what you're doing out there. Keep it up.
Thanks, guys. You too. God bless.
Thank you, folks. Make sure you go check out Swing State Update, Tyler's podcast. Go follow him on Twitter at Tyler Bowyer, Bowyer. Thank you for watching. Greatly appreciate it. Go get yourself a shirt. Use the link down there. And evil is powerless if the good are unafraid. There's your Ronald Reagan quote. Okay. Remember it. I will not comply. From the bunker.
Now he remembers it.
Now we remember.
You're watching Conservative Television of America, working hard to stick socialism where the sun don't shine.